Hello, hello. Hey, everyone. Hey, great to see you, folks. Can everybody see me and hear me okay? Yeah? Put in the chat there. Yes, I can see and hear you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay, excellent. Well, happy Gratitude Week, folks. If you're in America where I live, we have this thing called Thanksgiving. And who's in America? Or who's at least celebrating Thanksgiving this week? Yeah? Okay, so most of us. If you're Canadian, apparently you had your Thanksgiving last month. So you can consider this. Yeah, Jane? Yeah, Christine? Okay. So you can consider this a bonus Thanksgiving week. Like this, we can just like have gratitude all week here. And I am really excited to spend this morning with you here. A lot of people. Anyone traveling later today? Anyone going to see some family later today? What about tomorrow? Who's going tomorrow? Yeah, we got some folks that are going to be doing some traveling. All right, great. Yeah, well, we're going to go spend some time with some friends as well. Well, today, let's uh, let's dive in and learn about targeting rich client niches and using generative AI to help us do it. I have been studying both of these things for several years. I mean, I've been studying rich client niches now for probably about 25 or 30 years. And I've been studying the AI stuff for 4 or 5 years. And the intersection is so, so powerful. So let's do this. Hopefully, we can learn a lot of stuff today. Who wants to learn a lot of stuff? Yeah? Okay. All right, cool. Well, you're going to learn a lot today. And with that in mind, in fact, let's do a couple things. First, let's take your mobile device. Who's got one of these? Show it to me. If you got a camera, please turn it on because I love to be here with you. Yeah. All right, let me see your mobile device. Okay. So do this. Put this on the loudest setting so that if anyone calls you, it rings and interrupts you. Okay. All right, perfect. Actually, no, let's put it on the little moon setting here. Let's get it on do not disturb so that for the next, 75 or 90 minutes, we're just right here and we're learning together. Also, get a place to take notes. Okay. Something to write on, something to write with. And I'm I'm like a multi-level learner and teacher. I'm trying to do it, teach it, show you how I'm doing it, show you how I'm teaching it all at once. I want to show as much as possible. We tend to attract kind of geeky, autodidact, kind of polymath types of folks who like to learn on a lot of levels at once. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to be just like jamming and teaching you as much stuff as I can today. So get a place to take notes. Make sure you've got a place to write stuff down. And I want you to watch on multiple levels here. So we're not just, learning about rich client niches. We're not just learning about generative AI. We're not just, watching the demo. Try to pay attention to how I'm doing everything here and try to pick up a couple of a little tips as we go. All right, first thing I want to do is I want to ask you, open up your chat there in Zoom. All right, and will you tell me what is your coaching niche or professional background? Okay, so coaching niche or professional background in one sentence or less. All right, coaching niche or professional background. All right, Linda says a smartphone camera coach. Cool. Health and lifestyle. All right, Nina. Okay, Denise driving. Okay, good. Let's see. Spiritual practitioner. Cool, Catherine. Tina says financial coaching. Transformational nurse coach. Engineering design. Okay, that's cool, Marv. Health and well-being. Wonderful, Annette. Peggy says sales, financial services, insurance, certified professional coach in the equestrian world. Cool. Diabetic chronic illness coach. Retired from teaching. Landscape architecture. Wealth building. Career coaching. HVAC. Healer. Medical tourism. Retired teacher. Equine body worker. Attorney doing father's custody coaching. Cool. Health detox. Life business coach. Holistic health coach. Let's see, passive income coming from meditation, SaaS free. Okay, cool. So we have a really cool, diverse group here. This is wonderful. Thank you for sharing these with me, everyone. And this kind of goes to something that I see a pattern when I see coaches and teachers. Right? Most coaches and teachers start out by talking about what they're talking about before they ask questions like, "Who are you?" and what are your needs, and and so forth. Yeah, so I like to ask questions first, and this way it reminds me, of who I'm talking to. It reminds me of kind of the level to talk to. All right, cool. And what's your biggest challenge right now, building your business or your coaching business? What's your biggest challenge? Put it in the chat in a sentence or two. What's your biggest challenge? Or maybe a sentence or less, right? What's your biggest challenge right now? Okay, clients, getting new customers, taking action. All right, Tina says finding the right clients. I like that one a lot, right? Tina's a little ahead of the curve here, right? It's not just getting clients, it's getting the right clients. Kim says marketing. Okay, good. Stephanie says getting the right clients too. Annette says getting my first high ticket client. Career transition. Okay, ideal clients, how to frame an offer, defining what I want to teach and coach, leads, getting my voice out, transitioning from solopreneur to LLC, constant supply of qualified clients. Good, finding clients. Okay, so probably half of these or more are getting clients and finding the right clients. There's choices, there's options. Okay, I agree. Yeah, I see everybody now saying, yeah, I want to get the right clients. I don't just want to get clients, I want to get the right clients. And hopefully today you're going to see that's what we're going to focus on, is getting those right clients. Okay, career transition, getting paying clients. All right, good. Generating calls and new clients. So if today we focused on not just getting more clients, but getting more clients efficiently and finding the right clients that will pay you more for your coaching, who would say that we would have a win if we did just that today? Yeah? Okay, great. Well, that's what we're going to focus on. Okay, we're going to focus on identifying and finding the right clients, and then let's do that efficiently so that we can get more people paying us more, and we can grow our business. All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to, oh my gosh, I'm all excited. Today, what we're going to be focusing on is targeting what I call rich client niches. And there's a deliberate wordplay here because these are niches that are rich with clients, but they're also where rich clients tend to hang out. One of the big mistakes that I see coaches make is they deliberately target clients who can't pay them. They deliberately target clients who can't pay them. Now, you might be wondering, wait a minute, Evan, that doesn't make sense. Why would a coach deliberately target a client who can't pay them? Well, here's how it happens. Okay, what the coach does, or the teacher or the thought leader, what they do is they target clients who have particular problems or need particular things or want to learn what the coach knows. And what they don't ask is, do those types of clients have any money? In other words, can those clients afford my coaching? Right? I've met so many coaches that are like, I want to help people. I want to serve people. I want to help people that are having problems. Who wants to help people that are having problems? Who loves it when you work with clients who get great results because they were having a real problem and you help them solve it? Who loves doing that? All right, good. Well, unfortunately, what most coaches don't do is say, are the people that are having the problems the same ones as the clients who have the money? And oftentimes they're not. Oftentimes, if you just target a particular type of client who maybe has a particular problem or wants to learn something that you know, you're inadvertently targeting somebody who also can't afford to pay you well for your coaching. So what's the solution to this? Well, the solution is to target more affluent, higher income clients from the beginning to start with. Okay? And what I want to do with you right now is I want to take you on a little journey because I've been studying affluent client psychology for almost 30 years now. Okay? You see, I grew up out in the backwoods of Oregon, very poor to hippie parents. We were always on food stamps and government assistance and that kind of thing. And I grew up and I was a long-haired rock and roll guitar player. And at my height, I made $75 a week as a guitar player and $10 an hour in my job. And I got into my 20s and I was like, I have to figure out how to do something. I had dropped out of school to go on tour with a band, and I went into business. And I started learning some of the hard knocks of business. And as I got into business and was having a hard time getting clients, I discovered sales and marketing, and then I studied that. And then I realized that there was this kind of class of person, there was this category of person called an affluent person, a rich person, a person who had money. Those people seemed like they were probably alien to me when I was growing up. I didn't know any of these people. They seemed like they were, maybe they lived on another planet or something. But then I realized that there were people that had studied them, people that had invested their entire career studying them and understanding their psychology. And I'll share some of that with you right here. So we're going to do a couple of things here today. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through affluent client psychology, and I'm going to take you behind the scenes of who affluent people are, right? Talk to you about some rich client niches. I'm going to talk to you about some of the niches where they hang out that are unexpected, but kind of right in front of us, so that maybe you can start thinking about finding them. I'm going to teach you about one category of affluent people who are becoming more affluent very rapidly. Most people don't realize this, and we should all be targeting more of them because they also buy a lot more coaching, which is a really interesting intersection here. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of switch tracks, and we're going to go start using generative AI, and we're going to do some live demos here, and I'm going to show you how to use the generative AI to target more affluent people much, much faster. Okay, so we got kind of a lot to cover here, and I'm blending a couple of my interests and passions to show this to you, but we're just going to do it all. It's going to be, real time. We're going to be doing it all live. And this isn't going to be one of those weird things where I'm going to talk for 5 minutes and then do a pitch for 45 minutes and then talk for 45 minutes and do a pitch for 45 minutes. I'm just going to be teaching you. It's going to be jamming the whole time. I'm going to give you the best stuff that I've got. And if that's okay, at the end, in, I don't know, an hour and 15 minutes, if you like what you hear, I'm going to invite you to buy something from me. And because it's Black Friday and Cyber Monday week, I'm going to make you an offer that's $1. So at the end, if you like what you hear here, I'm going to try to get you to give me $1 for about $1,000 worth of stuff. Okay, so I've got a great offer for you. But, let's keep me honest here. I'm only going to make that to you after I deliver the awesome goods here. Okay, so who would say that that's pretty fair? Is that cool if we do it that way? All right, and make sure and stay on to the end because I got an awesome offer, and I want you to join my new AI marketing club because it's super, super cool. By the way, what you're seeing here, this is what we do in the classes that I'm going to invite you to. So just kind of this is what it's like to work with me. If you've never been in classes before, we're just going for it here. All right, who's ready? Thank you for having your cameras on, everyone. All right, put your hands together like this. Let's rub them together. Let's warm up. All right, send me some energy. All right, good. Let's go take a look at some rich client niches here. All right, so I built this presentation that I'm about to show you, and it took me many years to learn what I'm going to share with you right now. Okay, this is all based on research, what I'm about to show you, okay, from decades of me, but then that's studying a bunch of other people as well. And I really want to kind of give you the character of affluent people and affluent client psychology, okay? All right, so I'm going to do a little screen share here. And in fact, let's try doing it this way. This might be kind of fun. Okay, cool. Can everybody see? Wave your hand to me if you can see me and the presentation. Okay, cool. Here we go. So if you want to feel happy, coach everyone. Okay, and I really mean this. If you want to just feel good and feel fulfilled, just coach everyone you meet, because helping people and coaching people and mentoring them, it feeds the soul, right? It makes you feel good. But if you want to make money, Okay, if you really want to make
Aren't you
money,
just a grenade?
coach successful people.
How did you do that? How did you know to do
Okay,
that?
so think about this for a minute. How else could it work? Right? If you want to get paid a lot, you need to coach people who can afford to pay you. And this is no values judgment. It's not a judgment about whether it's good or bad to have money or not have
I
money,
was going to see if you
right?
wanted
I'm
to
just
send your daughter
giving you the
to
logic. It's just the math here,
the
okay?
liquor store
So
for
if you want to make a lot of
Chihuahua.
money, you have to coach
And
successful
next door
people
is
and
the
help them
deli.
become
She
more
wants to get a couple
successful.
bags of the gnocchi.
So
Kind
this
of
is what
weird.
affluent people look like, right? Rock stars,
Really?
movie stars, right? People that fly around on private jets,
Oh, okay.
right? It turns out,
Oh,
no,
she wants a
it's
grape.
actually not what they
Yeah,
look
all the time
like.
the deli's open
A
till midnight.
small minority of rich
You
people
know?
look like that.
Um,
I first
all right,
learned
home.
about this almost 30 years ago
You hear me?
from a man named Dr. Thomas Stanley. Okay, and he wrote this series of books, Marketing to the Affluent, Selling the Affluent, and Networking with the Affluent. And in fact, I still have them. I've got them right here next to me, right? Because these books have just been so meaningful to me. And I remember when I bought these were like $60 or something. They were originally very expensive. And they're big, thick books. They're like 400 or 500-page books. And what this showed me was, see, Thomas Stanley, he went in the 70s and he would get groups of affluent people together and he would interview them because he wanted to know who they were. And he discovered that they were not who we thought they were. That instead of them being, these people that fly around on private jets and live in big mansions, that actually they were much more normal appearing, right? So if you go to you go to the market or something, you wouldn't recognize them if they walked by because they drove 10-year-old cars, right? They wore clothes that were sensible, but not like high fashion or anything. They lived in nice neighborhoods, but they didn't live in a giant mansion up in the hill. They didn't broadcast their wealth. Now, you might remember Dr. Thomas Stanley because then he went on to write these books. Remember The Millionaire Next Door? Who remembers those books, right? The Millionaire Next Door, The Millionaire Mind. Yeah, well, it turns out that before writing his bestsellers, he wrote these. He spent decades studying affluent client psychology. Now, I don't necessarily recommend that you read these books. I mean, they're great, but they're kind of dense. And, I'm going to give you the essence of what I've learned from them here, but also what I've learned from several others. Now, I've created a little narrative that I put together to help you get a sense of who affluent people really are. And I'm going to walk you through it. And I want you to keep in mind everything I'm about to share with you is based on research. Okay, I'm not making anything up here, and I'll explain it as I go. So, hi, we're Alexis and Alex. Okay, so Alexis is a technology entrepreneur. Alex owns a financial planning business. All right, so we're Alexis and Alex. Even the names are based on research. So what Dr. Thomas Stanley discovered was that most affluent people, okay, most millionaires, they didn't inherit the money, they didn't win the lottery. Most of them made it themselves, the majority of them, and they made it mostly in their own businesses. Okay, so it turns out that most rich people are entrepreneurs. They build businesses. And by the way, two of the top categories of multimillionaire entrepreneurs are number one, tech, and number two, finance. This is why Alexis is a technology entrepreneur and Alex owns a financial planning business. We achieved $1 million net worth at age 37. Now, at age 57, our net worth is $5 million. Okay, so the average affluent person, right? They're also, by the way, they're married. That's a really important piece of the equation, too. Most affluent people are married. And they got to the $1 million net worth age 37, 57, net worth is $5 million on average. We've kept up our careers and businesses through raising our kids who have moved out recently. Our favorite free time activity is time with family and friends. Okay, so turns out that most affluent people are kind of regular people who made better choices and achieved more success. They had kids, they raised them. Their favorite free time activity is hanging out with their friends and their family, just like the rest of us. We invest in ourselves intelligently. We like to travel occasionally to see new places. They don't jet around on private jets all the time. They like to take vacations once in a while. They enjoy art and culture, and they like to learn new things. Okay, so I'm going to stop for a minute here. And what I want to point out is that Affluent people, okay, they're not the icon of like flashy people walking on red carpets. They're actually regular people who built businesses usually, right? Made better decisions, saved over the long term, made good, wise investment choices. They're regular people who made better decisions. So, why is this important to understand? Because if you think of affluent people, if you think of millionaires, multimillionaires as being these like untouchable people that ride around in limousines and fly around in, private jets, then you won't even try to get them as clients. Does this make sense, everyone? On the other hand, if you understand that they're actually regular people who just made better decisions and they're walking around the grocery store just like everyone else, it totally changes your mindset. Okay, now if you're a coach, I put another part in the story here, but not every single thing is perfect in our world. Alexis is happy, but she gained some weight. She had a pain in her chest that scared her, and her doctor says she needs to take this seriously. Alex is also stressed out because he's been losing clients and he needs to do some marketing to get more. Alex is a little worried because they've been fighting, and he's actually afraid for their relationship. In other words, we're basically successful in our lives, but we also have places where we need some help and support. Now, I put this in because there's another misconception about rich people, about successful and affluent people, that they don't have any problems. Okay, I saw an article in, I think it was New York Times a year or two ago, that talked about how if you're rich, you basically don't get to have problems, right? Because everybody just goes, well, you're rich, so you can't complain. Yeah. But because actually affluent people are regular people who get in fights with their partners and have weight problems and have their business go up and down just like everybody else, right? Have their careers go up and down. We forget, these are people who are successful in their lives and they need help in a particular area. Okay, so my wife Annie, for example, she's one of the highest paid relationship coaches in the world. Most of her clients are affluent. They're very successful. Some of them are, famous. But guess what? They still get in fights with their romantic partner. Okay, they still have arguments. They still, are single and lonely sometimes or get divorces, right? So if you think of affluent people as they generally have their life together, but they also still have problems that you can help them with, again, it makes them more approachable. It really, really helps, okay? So successful clients are special. They're unique. They're different in very important ways. And here's the key. Successful clients need a coach who really understands, right? Because these folks are used to be treated like you don't get to have problems, when they do have a challenge and they meet a coach who's really like tuned in, okay, it can be incredibly valuable. And if you can afford it, you see, then it makes sense to pay more. I'll share one more piece, a little tip for you here. The communication style that affluent clients appreciate most. Okay, so write this down if you're taking notes. The first thing that affluent clients appreciate is directness. Okay, directness. I live in Texas now. I didn't grow up here. I grew up in Oregon. So, there's a little bit of a backwoods kind of vibe in Oregon, and there's a little bit of a kind of out in the boonies feel in Texas sometimes, right? And in Texas here, they have a saying, and they call it spittin' and whittlin'. Okay. And so what you do is like you go over to somebody's house, let's say you're going to go over and, I don't know, buy a bale of hay from them or something. And, you go up on the porch and they come out. And the first thing you do is you kind of stand around talking about things a little bit, like you talk about the weather, or you talk about the news, and you talk for a few minutes so that the social anxiety can calm down and everybody can kind of get to know each other a little bit. And then maybe after you talk for 10 or 15 minutes, then you can kind of go get to business. Okay. Who knows what I'm talking about here? Right. Okay, good. Right. So in most life, when you meet someone, you start talking to someone, you need to build a little rapport. You need to kind of like make them feel okay. You need to smile at them and let them know that you like them and have kind of basic social skills. Well, if you're dealing with affluent clients, particularly if it's a context where you're going to potentially get hired as a coach or a consultant or to do business with them, they're more experienced usually in life, right? Because they've had to interact with more situations, with more types of people. They can afford to buy the things that they want. So they would appreciate it, in my experiences, if you don't do 10 or 15 minutes of spitting and whittling and smiling and laughing and trying to make them feel good and asking them how their day was. That is not what they want. That's how you indicate to them that you don't get it and that they're probably not going to have a very efficient relationship with you. So directness. Now, I'm not talking about rudeness here. Okay. You certainly can say, hi, how are you doing today? Where do you live? You can talk for a couple of minutes, but very quickly, we need to get right into the issue and say, okay, so tell me, what kind of challenge are you experiencing right now? What's the problem you're having? What's the opportunity we're here to discuss? Okay, so get there quickly and talk directly about it. Think, if you go to the doctor and, you've got a pain or something in your body, right? You don't want the doctor to be like trying to, if the doctor's nervous talking about it, like, oh, I don't want to make you uncomfortable, right? You want the doctor to be like, where does it hurt? How much? Tell me about, like, you want to be able to talk directly about it. So think direct like that. Okay. The second thing that you want from a coach or someone that's helping you, if you're affluent, is you want them to be professional. Okay. You want them to be professional. You want them to be direct, number one, professional, number two. So how do professionals talk? Well, professionals are comfortable talking about the entire range of experience and emotions without getting nervous and uncomfortable. Think back to our doctor example. Okay. So imagine if you went in to talk to the doctor and the doctor said, where does it hurt? And you said, it hurts right here. And the doctor went, oh, wow. Okay. That must really be bothering you. That must really disturb you, right? If your problems are making the doctor uncomfortable, does that feel like the right doctor for you? So you have to be able to dive all the way in and talk professionally about whatever the problem is. Okay, and then the third piece is kind of counterintuitive, right? So direct, professional, empathic. Okay, so they actually need you to be highly empathic at the same time that you're being direct and professional. So how do you do this? I thought you said, Eben, that that they don't want you to go, oh man, that must really be bad. That's not the type of empathy that I'm talking about. I'm talking about what I call conscious empathy. Okay. I'm not talking about the kind where if they're having emotional discomfort, you have emotional discomfort. Not that kind. I'm talking about where you dive in and you say, explain what is happening to me. I really, really, really want to understand it. How did you get here? What's the problem? How does it work? What makes it worse? What makes it better? What have you tried? Okay. What worked? What didn't? Right. Get all the way in there so that you understand how they got to where they are, so that you can say to them, oh, okay, I understand how you got here. And then you can explain it back to them and then say, okay, I know how to help you solve this problem. And the solution is this high-ticket coaching package, right? And we can definitely help you do that. That is empathic, okay? But it's conscious empathy. It's not just emotional. All right, so let me come back here. Is this making sense to everyone? We got this? Okay, so to start with, we don't want to target people who can't afford our coaching. We want to target people who can pay really well for our coaching. In fact, we want to target people who see it as an investment that they can afford, and it makes great sense to invest in a multi-thousand or $10,000 or $20,000 coaching package because, right, they have the means and they can afford it. Okay. But in order to do this, we have to remember that these aren't untouchable people. These are people that we can reach. These are people we can work with. These are people that we can find. We just need to narrow our vision and we need to zoom in on these folks. Okay. By the way, yeah, I'll show you this in just a moment. So let's do the next part here, because what I want to show you is I want to show you what I call rich client niches. Okay. It's taken me a while to understand that these kind of mega niche categories are also where lots of affluent clients hang out, but they hang out in a kind of a niche within the niche, right? They hang out in certain places. So let me share this with you, and then we'll kind of circle back and then we'll dive in and start using some AI to actually find them. All right. So here's the insight. We want to be successful in all parts of our lives, okay? And this is particularly true for affluent people. We don't live out on the African savannah anymore. Okay, we don't live in agrarian cultures where 95% of us have to work all day on the farm. Okay, we live in a modern industrial and knowledge economy where we have all kinds of free time and we have all kinds of free resources, right? And now we want it all, right? We want to, eat healthy. We want to go on vacation. We want to be super mom and super dad. We want to meditate and be enlightened, right? We want to sit on the beach, right? Is there anyone here who doesn't want it all? Anyone here who doesn't want all that stuff? No? Who wants it all? Who wants to have all of it? Okay, right. Okay. So guess what? Affluent people do as well. And so we need to go look for them in the places, right, where they're trying to get it all. The first area is wellness. Okay. Not just health, but wellness. I first learned about this about 25 years ago when I read Paul Zane Pilser's work, right, The Economist, and he wrote about unlimited wealth, and he talked about how he was estimating back then that wellness was going to be a $1 trillion industry over the coming decades. Guess what? It's already a $5 trillion industry. So what is wellness versus health? All right. Well, health and, more particularly health care is when you go and you fix problems that you have. Wellness is when you look out in front of you and say, you know what? What if I could live an extra 10 or 20 years? And what if it could be vibrant health? What if it could be like nourishing, fulfilled well-being? So this is where, supplements and special diets and meditation retreats and all of these kinds of things that are happening right now, and they're just exploding all over the world. So if you'd like to, I'll just give you one, okay? If you want to meet a bunch of rich people, go to a longevity conference. Okay? Seriously. Go to a longevity or a biohacking conference. They're everywhere. Because guess what? Who's going to be paying $30,000 for the, infrared bed that you lay on, or $20,000 for some stem cell treatment and so forth, right? Do you think that this is just, average people walking around? No, of course not. It's a magnet, right, for these kinds of folks. So wellness, okay? Start thinking, how could I find my client, but do it in a way where they're, around wellness. Second category, love. Okay. So love is a really, really big deal. All right. Let me ask you this. Matchmakers. Does anyone know how much the top matchmakers charge? Put it in the chat. Who knows how much the top matchmakers charge? Right. If you've already heard it from me, don't spoil it. Just guess, everyone. Okay, 65,000, 50,000, 25K, 100,000, 100,000, 100,000, 200K. Okay, good. Guess what? It's $1 million. The top matchmakers charge $1 million. There are lots of them that charge six figures. Okay. So, think about it though. If you're worth $100 million or $500 million and you really want to find someone, right? $1 million is not that much money. Does everybody get what I mean here relatively? Yeah? Okay. Yeah. And some of the biggest successes that we've seen, I just met a few weeks ago, I met the founder of one of the top online dating companies in the world, right? This is like, these companies are selling for hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, right? People are really motivated to find a romantic relationship across the whole spectrum. So I want you to take away from it is that affluent people, they want love just as much as everybody else, and they're willing to pay a lot for it, okay? And for relationship coaching and other things. Okay, the third category is what I call experiences, right? What do you get the person who has it all? Okay, so I have a good friend. He was a good friend. I haven't talked to him much over the last several years, but he's an old friend. Several years ago, he had a mansion with, a bunch of fancy cars. He had a fish tank in his mansion that a guy in a diving suit had to get into in order to clean it. Okay. Like it was like that kind of situation. And one day he got tired of it all and he sold everything, literally sold everything, and got a little backpack with one change of clothes. And he said, I'm just tired of the hassle of owning all this stuff. I just want to be free. And he went and traveled and he put it all in a backpack. Because why? Right? Because it's not the material stuff, it's the experiences in life. And more and more and more, you're seeing this awareness arise in the minds of affluent and successful people, right? More people are kind of downsizing and whatever in order to go and live and have experiences. So I'm not saying that all affluent people are doing that. Some, buy things, and some even buy mansions or, nice cars or whatever. But experiences are where it's at. And this is why if you go to some of the top resorts in the world or you go travel, that there are all of these extra things that you can do. You can go on the ski adventure where they drop you off from a helicopter, or you can go diving in a shipwreck, or you can go out on a sailboat and so forth. And I'll tell you what, these are amazing experiences. I've done some of these things. I had somebody take me out on a racing sailboat like 20 years ago in Sydney Harbor when I was in Australia. I'll never forget that day. It's really exciting, right, to go and have great experiences. So the point is, if you know how to do something, if you're great at golf or horseback riding or skiing or whatever, that can actually lead you to lots of affluent clients that can then become coaching clients. Right? So a lot of people don't realize, well, they'll say, yeah, I used to do tennis, lessons at the club and I met rich people all the time. And I'm like, well, go do them again and then turn them into coaching clients. Right? So you might have an in that you never considered before. The next category of where affluent clients hang out is business. Now, this one's kind of more obvious, but I just can't believe how many coaches don't think of it. Right? So if you want to find people who have money, go to the buildings where they're all working or get into the virtual companies. When I was in real estate, I went to a seminar once and I think they recommended this strategy. So I went down to a local company. I think I went to like Home Depot or something. And I said, hey, I'm a real estate agent. Could I do a little brown bag lunch? And you could just have your employees come in and I'll just talk a little bit about buying a house. And they're like, sure. And I showed up with my lunch and they had some people sitting there. And I was like, this is amazing because I know these people have jobs, right? So what could you go down to your local businesses in your area and help them with? Could you offer to go in and teach them about relationships? Could you teach them about health? Could you teach them about what, right? What do you know how to do that you could teach them? And then at the end, you could offer them a coaching session, right? And it's cool because, again, like think about it, everyone there has a job, and if you can work with executives, right, or higher level people, obviously even better, because that's where you find the affluent people. The next rich client niche, this one's so obvious that almost no one ever thinks of it, is money itself, money and finance itself. There are a lot of rich people who can't balance their checkbook. Right? So this is very counterintuitive to a lot of folks, right? There are a lot more, I'll put it this way. There are a lot more people, I'm making this up, but I totally believe that it's true based on my experience in life. There are a lot more people who can balance a checkbook than are rich. Make sense? Make sense, everyone? Right? There are a lot more people that can balance their checkbook than are rich. A rich person, right? They've often earned the money, but they don't necessarily know how to manage it. Maybe they got a financial manager, they got an accountant, and so forth, right? And in fact, a lot of really successful people, they lose their money. They don't know how to put a financial plan together. So if you are good with money, you could help people with budgeting, with investing, with making financial decisions. Now, obviously, there are licenses involved in certain places if you're making investment advice, but I'm just saying that being a financial coach or being a money coach, there are lots of people with money who could use your skills. And then the final kind of surprise bonus rich client niche that I'll share with you here is this one, which is spirituality. All right? Spirituality. And this one's also really counterintuitive because a lot of people think, well, spirituality and rich people, what? Huh? Again, what do you get the person who has it all? So more and more and more, like wealthy, affluent people, right, are seeking meaning in life. And so they are becoming interested in the wisdom traditions, in religion, in spirituality. And so yoga retreats, meditation retreats, churches, right? These are often places where you can find affluent people. By the way, there's a secret benefit of working with more affluent clients, and that is that you get to be influenced by them. You get to be paid to do research of what it's like to be affluent. And it can't help but rub off on you. Okay, it can't help but rub off on you. So it can be really valuable. By the way, a couple of other little points here I'll just make really quick before we dive into some of the AI work. There are 50 million millionaires right now. Okay, 50 million in the world. These are pictures that were taken where there were 1 million people. 1 million is a lot of people. Okay, and you can see in every one of these pictures, they didn't even capture it all because the frame couldn't capture them all. Okay, so there are 50 million millionaires. And this was the surprise category I told you about earlier. Turns out that women drive the majority of consumer purchases. Women make most purchasing decisions. They spend most of the money. The future is female consumption. Women buy over 80% of everything, 91% of new homes, right? 65% of new cars, 89% of bank accounts, 66% of computers, 92% of vacations, 93% of food, 80% of healthcare, 93% of pharmaceuticals, right? Women make those buying decisions. Women are also, on top of already being incredibly powerful, are already, they're getting put on money more and more and more and more, okay? And so men and women also live at different lengths, right? We men got the short end of the stick here. We got testosterone and crazy behavior and other things. So we live like 5 or 10 years shorter. So over the coming decades, there's going to be what they call the double wealth transfer as more and more and more men die and leave their wealth to their daughters and their wives. And so in the future, focusing on affluent women is going to be a better and better and better strategy. And it's also a better and better strategy. Guess why? Because women buy most of the coaching. So there's like twice as many female coaching clients as male coaching clients. All right, who just learned something? Awesome. All right, wonderful. Now, let's go and use this. Who's been using generative AI? Who's been using ChatGPT and Claude and all this stuff? Is there anyone here who hasn't used them yet? You've never used them? Yeah? Okay, not so much. All right, cool. Then what I'm going to do is we're going to dive in and I'm going to show you how to use some of the AI tools to do something that by now should maybe seem, a little bit more obvious, all right? So to do this, I'm looking for a volunteer. And before you raise your hand or volunteer, I want you to listen to the qualifications here. I need you to know who your ideal clients are and know your coaching niche enough that when I ask you questions like, what are your clients' biggest challenges and problems, you're going to give me an answer because you've actually talked to at least dozens of them yourself, and you can tell me what their words are, okay? And somebody who probably I haven't met or haven't worked with before, okay? And you'd like to attract more affluent clients, and we could do a little jam session right here to do it. If that's you, okay, if you want to get more clients and you know your clients, okay, you know them well enough that you can tell me what are their challenges, what are their frustrations, what are their needs, and the answers are going to be because you've talked to at least dozens of them. Okay, go ahead and raise your hand. All right, let's see, Catherine. See, you raised your hand there. You're up first, so let's try this out. All right, hey, how are you? Can you unmute? Let me try to unmute you.
Trying to. There we go.
Okay, there we go. I can hear you now.
Okay.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Can you see me and hear me all right?
I sure can.
All right. You enjoying yourself today?
Oh my gosh. Yes. This is fantastic. I love you. Been with you years and years, but today is
wonderful.
Awesome. It's perfect.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. All right. So Catherine, what we're going to do is I'm going to just open up plain old ChatGPT here.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you about your coaching and about your clients. Okay.
Sure.
And I'm going to just type in some, a few things here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to ask ChatGPT to help us to target and identify more affluent clients within your clients, and then
Okay.
where we can find. All right. And we're just going to
Beautiful.
have a little fun here. Okay. Okay. So everyone, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to just put ChatGPT up here. All right. All right. Catherine, can you see this?
Yes.
All right, cool. And there's nothing behind the curtain here, everyone. I mean, I'm literally just logged into plain old ChatGPT, and I'm not going to be using any kind of dictation or translation software. I'm going to type myself. So if you want to speak to yours or whatever, you can, do the faster way. So I'm going to pretend that I'm you. Okay. I
Okay.
don't have memory on in ChatGPT, so it's not going to be thinking it's me. I
Okay.
want to tell ChatGPT basically, so I'm going to pretend I'm you. I'm going to say, like, I'm a coach, and here's my niche, and here's who my clients are. Okay. So how would you describe your coaching or advising or consulting business?
I have been I've owned my business for 40 years, and I have been helping business owners that have 50 million on up and teams of about 20 to 5,000 employees.
So saying that again. So you have who have teams of,
Teams
what's
of,
your sweet spot though?
my sweet spot is culture.
No, of size of team.
Okay. I'd say 50 million to, size of the team, 20 to 1,000 employees.
What's the real sweet spot though for you within that?
I'd say I'd say like 200 employees, so that it's a sticky wicket.
Okay, so I'm gonna narrow 50 to 1,000 to
To
like maybe 100 to like 300.
Fine, that definitely works.
Okay. By the way, look what I'm doing, everyone, is I'm challenging her to narrow in. I'm not
Yeah.
letting her just choose like the whole wide range. I want to know the sweet spot. What's the size of the business that's 100 to 300 employees? That's your real sweet spot.
The size of the business would be I have worked with retail specifically for years, and so they have multi-units.
Say
And
retail, multi-unit business owners
Yep.
who do what? How much revenue?
Um, about 50 million to 300 million a year.
50 million
Mm-hmm.
to 300 million?
Yeah. So they're
Now,
not huge, but they're very strong.
so that the 100 to 300 employees, those do 50 million to 300 million. That's it.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, how would you describe yourself? What term would you use? Would you call yourself a coach, a consultant?
I call myself a consultant.
Okay, I am a consultant,
Mm-hmm.
and I have owned my business for 40 years, helping
Yeah.
retail multi-unit business owners who do 50 million to 300 million, and have teams
Mm-hmm.
of 100 to 300 employees.
Yes.
Okay, and then what do you help them do?
I help them reboot their culture, create a shared vision so everyone becomes a stakeholder. And then we use that to collaborate on their learning, and then their talent development and leadership development, so that their organization is rocking and filled with it's collaboration and innovation, and that really creates a tremendous retention.
Okay, so collaboration and
Innovation,
what?
innovation,
Innovation
and
creates
retention,
tension,
and I would say sense of purpose.
sense of purpose. Okay, cool. So, everyone, what I observe here about Catherine, and I observe this about most coaches as well, so I'm not just picking on you, Catherine, is we're talking at a very abstract level here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're talking about retail multi-unit business owners, teams, reboot their culture, create shared vision, stakeholders, leadership, collaboration, innovation. These are very kind of big, grand kinds of concepts. This is
Yeah.
great. But what I want to know, and I want to know this of everybody here, if I'm going to work with you too, is at the ground level today, what is the big problem that they're having? That when you meet them is the frictiony thing, but it's situational. It's not something like they're having miscommunication. It's
Right.
the CEO just got fired. Okay. It's not they're having financial challenges. It's their bank just disapproved them for a loan. It's something more concrete.
Yes.
Okay. So the situation that they're dealing with, or the tangible problem that they're facing, is what?
Is disengagement, where people are quiet quitting. They're just, and this has been,
So
very.
hang on. That's a category of things. I want to
Okay.
hear something like the CFO didn't come into work today, rather than disengagement.
Okay. Where the employees are not making their financial targets. They don't like to sell, so they're having the leaders are having trouble getting them to, first of all, care about sales and care about service. And that actually is a big problem.
Okay, great. Tangible problem. The team isn't making their sales targets and they don't like to sell.
Yep.
All right, I'm just going to stop for a minute here. Now, everyone, we're talking, all right, with Catherine, we're talking about, businesses, and like this is kind of big picture stuff here. If you work with individual people as a coach, or you want to work with individual people who want to lose weight, or people who want to get into a relationship, or whatever else, you might be listening to this going, well, that doesn't apply. It applies exactly. Because if I was talking to you right now and you were saying, well, I want to help people who want to get in better physical health, I want to know concretely what is the problem that they have when they call you. Okay. Not that they're overweight, but that they eat chips and ice cream at night before they go to bed, and it's put 30 pounds of fat on them. I want to know something concrete. So it's the same. This is exactly the same thing I'm doing with her here. So don't look at what I'm doing with her and say, oh, that doesn't apply to me. It applies directly. And I'm belaboring the point here because, I've taught many thousands of coaches, and most of us who are coaches, we tend to think high level. We forget that we're dealing with real people with real individual problems. And the better we can get at getting to the real individual problem, the more we're going to connect with them. Okay, wave your hand to me if this makes sense, what I just said to you here. Okay, good. We really want to make sure that you get this. Usually when I do these demos, it's with, folks that are working with things that are maybe a little more relatable. You work with these awesome $50 million, companies, but we finally got to it. Okay, they're not hitting their money targets and they don't like to sell. So I'm going to put their sales revenue targets and they don't like to sell.
Yeah.
This is big. Okay, it's really important here that we nail this. Now, what I want to know here is, so what the AI is great at doing is generative AI is great at sifting through large bodies of knowledge and finding relationships between things and being able to parse and chunk up that knowledge. All right. And so in this case, what I would want to know how to do is target the types of companies that are like this, who would be most likely to hire a consultant like you and who would lead to the best long-term, like payoff for you.
Yeah.
Can you tell me anything else about the types of companies that are the best companies for you, and the ones that, like, this could be any type of company you're talking about here. This could be, well, wait a minute. No, you said they're they're retail multi-unit business owners. Okay.
Yes.
So within that, is there anything more specific you can tell me?
The business owner loses sleep over, essentially they're burning out because they're overcompensating mostly to take on some of the tasks that nobody's doing. So I'm seeing
Great.
the tremendous levels of burnout on the top level, and also I hate to say it this way, but millennial managers didn't grow up around a dinner table. So they don't have some of the social skills that we expect in a service environment. and the business owners have got to come to the belief that they can teach these skills right there inside their company and create a culture based on trust so that
So you're
everybody,
saying they need to teach these skills.
they do need to take responsibility and teach these skills and quit trying to hire people that don't like people.
Yeah. Okay, great. So we're going to put that in there because that's just really kind of interesting to go after here. All right, cool. So here's what I'm going to put in here. I would like to target, and this is for everyone here if you're doing prompting. Okay, so the first thing you do is you tell the AI a little bit about you. Okay, so she's a consultant. Here's about her business. You tell it a little bit about the client that you serve. Okay, so in this case, it's, these are companies who aren't hitting their sales targets. They don't like to sell. The business owner is burning out. So we're going to tell a little bit about you. We're telling a little bit about the client. But notice how I was a stickler. Get specific with these things. And then I'm going to say, I would like to target more affluent. Do you talk to the business owners? Is that how you get hired? Like, who do you meet that hires you?
Well, it's either the COO, Chief Operating Officer, because
Yes.
they're the results drivers, or it's the CEO. But ultimately, if we're dealing with culture, they have to sign off on me.
Yeah, I get it.
It's a big relationship, and it lasts for quite some time. So there's a partnership involved.
Okay. So I would like to target more affluent COOs or CEOs who would make great clients for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And for you, because you're a little more experienced and you've been doing this a while and you're already, you already have some experience, I sometimes like to prompt with this. I'm going to say, please brainstorm ideas that I probably haven't thought of. All right. And it's a strange thing to be able to ask generative AI to do this, but because, right, we want the little bit more fringy ideas. And I said brainstorm because I'll show everybody another thing here about this once it does brainstorm about why I want to start up at the higher level. All right, you've been doing this a long time. You've clearly mastered the craft of turning fragmented, underdeveloped leadership cultures into aligned, collaborative engines of growth. So let's go beyond the usual write a newsletter, post it on LinkedIn advice. Below are ideas you may not have tried, okay, to get psychology decision makers in the 50 to 300 million level. Okay, become the CEO whisperer, being diagnostic tools. Affluent CEOs and COOs respond to structured insight. Create a proprietary diagnostic that measures cultural alignment, leadership bench strength, sales readiness, attitude, burnout risk for the executive team, talent development, maturity. Why it works. Executives crave quantification of fuzzy problems. The diagnostic itself becomes a lead magnet. What do you think of that one?
I love it. And it's so funny. My clients have called me the workplace whisperer.
Amazing. Well, we're going to upgrade
really what
you
they called
right now,
me.
Catherine. You're now the CEO whisperer.
Woohoo! I love it.
Right. So you like that one all by itself?
Oh, it really hits the target.
Perfect.
Very
so
well.
Everyone, you're going to notice here, down here, there's more. There's 2, borrow someone else's trust, partner with fractional CFOs and COO networks. Number 3, command a category, sales culture rehab for retail operators. Mm-hmm. These are all really good ideas, by the way.
Yes, they are.
We did a good job.
I hope you send this to me.
Well, we'll talk about that. No, of course, I'll send it to you. Of course, I'll send it to you, Catherine.
This is great.
Here are 5, create a CEO sabbatical style offer. Nice. Okay, so these are all really good. And you see here, there's probably, and it's still writing. Okay, it's still going at it here. So that's going to probably give us 10. Now, because she said she liked the first one, and by the way, if you get good at prompting, everyone, mm-hmm. I really want everyone to get this. If you can get good at prompting, which is about getting good at thinking and communicating, truly, if you can get it good at prompting and do what we did here, and you can really nail the exact, like, communicating efficiently what your niche is and who your clients are and what you do, and then you can ask it for ideas, it's going to give you ideas that are 10 or 100 times better. You're not going to be chasing a bunch of wild goose chase. But did you see that I had to ask her the questions? Did everybody see that? And I had to really challenge to make sure that we're drilling down to the specifics. I cannot overestimate, or overemphasize how important this is. So because we like the first one, we're going to do something here. So I'm going to ask it. Let's see. Let's make sure it's done here. Okay. Yeah, it's done. Okay. So I'm going to say, um, I like idea number one, becoming a CEO whisperer. And I'm going to say to create the proprietary diagnostic. I'm going to just ask it to do it. So I'm going to say create the proprietary diagnostic. And I'm going to ask it to say that asks 10 questions and gives me the report. Boom. Now watch this. Great. Let's build you something that feels high level, incisive, and unmistakably yours. A diagnostic like this should do two things: expose the CEO's blind spots, position you as the only person who can help them fix what the questions reveal. Below is a 10-question diagnostic plus a report interpretation structure you can use immediately. This is designed to speak directly to multi-unit CEO, COO doing 50 to 300 million who's carrying too much of the weight and knows culture is slipping but hasn't named it. Oh, that's good. The culture performance alignment diagnostic, 10 questions that reveal why the organization isn't hitting its revenue targets and why the CEO is carrying the consequences.
Wow.
For each CEO, rate themselves on a 1 to 5 scale. Shared vision. My leadership team and I are aligned on a clear, compelling company-wide vision that our employees can articulate in their own words. Okay? And then it's got little notes for you here. All right? So what you could do, Catherine, is you could have a little online diagnostic with this. You could have them choose 1 to 5, and then they submit and they put their little name in there, and then they say, great, I'd love to send you this report. Tell me where the email you want me to send it, and I'm going to do this diagnostic myself. Okay, it's a $1,000 value or a whatever.
Mhm.
You take it, you take their answers, you run it through generative AI, you write up a little thing in 5 minutes and you send it back to them, you tune it and you tweak it up. And then you say, hey, they call me the CEO whisperer. Here's your diagnostic report. Here are the things that you need to do. I'd love to set up a 45-minute session, and I'll help you implement this stuff for free. I'd also like to look at these other things. I'll give you right, and you just turn this into a lead gen.
Yes.
What do you think, Catherine?
I think it's great. And it's so funny. Last week I spoke in Orlando. I'm in California, working in Orlando. And I gave a whole group of people, I was doing some breakouts, leadership blind spot quiz. So I'm just telling you.
So you're almost there already.
I've been working on this thing for a long time.
Okay.
And they loved it, and I made it actually fun for them to really get to know what their default is when they get screwy, So they really loved it.
Excellent. And by the way, do me a favor, send an email right now, Catherine. Just send it over to hello@Virtual Coach.
Okay.
And say, hey, it's Catherine. Can you send me that report? And I'll send you over.
Beautiful.
Send it to you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing I want to recommend that you do is take some of these other ideas that are in here about positioning and some of the offers that it recommended in here and integrate them into the report and integrate them into the follow-up system, because you can use multiple of the ideas, and that's how it gets really powerful.
That's great. Oh, wonderful.
Thanks, Catherine. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. This is fantastic.
You're so welcome. By the way, everyone, if you've used generative AI, then one of the problems that you run into, right, is it can just generate so much knowledge. At first, you're like, oh my God, this is great. But then has anyone generated one of these prompts where you get like 100 pages worth of stuff and you're like, okay, now what am I going to do? Like, I can't even read this again. Never mind, like, what do I implement, right? So the name of the game with generative AI it's now about quality, not quantity. And quality is about prompting. It's about how you communicate with the AI, all right? So let me show you something here. I just figured this out, this equation, the other day. Okay, let me get my high-tech whiteboard out right here, okay? So this is the equation. AI equals knowledge squared. Okay, AI equals knowledge squared. So what do I mean by this? Well, what I mean is, if you go and you sit down with, Dolly or Midjourney or one of the AI graphic programs, right, to make a graphic, the graphic that you're going to make is going to look good because AI is pretty awesome. But if I put an artist in front of it and I ask the artist to make an image, the one that the artist makes is going to be so much better than the one that you make, probably. Why? Because the artist already has a whole bunch of knowledge. They understand composition and they understand color and texture and style, so they know what to prompt. Does this make sense, everyone? You got it? Okay. If I sit down and I say, hey, I'm going to do a coaching session with someone, right? Give me some questions to ask my client. That's going to get me one level of results from AI. But if I'm an expert coach and I already know all the coaching models and I sit down and I ask the AI to give me some questions, I can tell the AI I want them to be in this coaching style and I want to address this type of problem that they're having because I understand what a coach is. And here's a framework that I usually use, but this type of client is having this problem. So the knowledge squared means if you only have a little bit of knowledge about the area, okay, that's totally different from if you have a lot of knowledge about the area. So for example, if you have, a level 2 of knowledge, 2 squared is 4. But if you have a level 10 knowledge, right, 10 squared is 100. So what I'm saying is that we live in a time right now where getting yourself educated has never had a bigger payoff. And there's never been a bigger penalty for not being educated. Truly. Okay? So whatever your skills are, if you can enhance them and then you can really learn how to use generative AI to prompt and learn how to think and communicate, it's exponential, right? And a lot of people are going, oh, AI, it's making so that we don't have to think anymore, or the AI is just doing it. Okay, that's true in some sense. But I interview people every week. I've got a YouTube channel. You can go check some of this stuff out. I interview people at the intersection of AI and all kinds of things. It is what people are doing with AI is unbelievable when they know how to do it. So now is the time to be learning things. And in particular, now is the time to be learning AI. And if you want to do something like grow your business, right, get more clients, there has never been a time that has been more of a miracle. I mean, I sit down sometimes and in an afternoon, I'll do stuff that would have taken me weeks or months before because I understand how to write copy, how to make an offer. And so I can do what we just did with Catherine here and I can really tune it. Okay. So this, right? It's your knowledge squared, but it only becomes valuable. Okay. It only becomes valuable if you use it. If you implement it, if Catherine doesn't do anything with what we did here, there's no value to it for her, right? In fact, it's depressing if you just generate a bunch of knowledge and then you don't do anything. And with that in mind, who's gotten some value today from being here? Okay, did I do what I said I was going to do? Did I deliver the goods? Right? Did I just channel the best of what I have? Okay, great. So now what I want to do is, because it's Thanksgiving and it's Black Friday and Cyber Monday, I want to invite you to come and do this more with me. All right. Next week on Tuesday, okay, we're going to do it again. But next week on Tuesday, we're going to be doing it about a little different topic. I'll tell you about that here in a moment. And what I've created is brand new. This is the first time that you could actually sign up for it. It's called my AI Marketing Club. Okay, the AI Marketing Club. And what we're going to do in the AI Marketing Club is we're going to get together twice a month for 1 hour, and we're going to do this exact thing, but we're going to do it across all of the really important areas of building your coaching or consulting or advising or thought leader business. Okay. And we're going to do this exact thing. We're going to dive in. I'm going to teach you something, or I'm going to teach you some mental models and frameworks. Then we're going to do prompting live. So you're actually going to do it, because if you don't do it, you're never going to get the results. All right. So let me talk to you a little bit about what this is. And you remember how I said to you, I'm going to make you an offer for $1. Okay, I want you to give me $1. Has anyone here gotten $1 worth of value already today? All right, good. Pay me. I want that dollar. Damn it. All right, cool. So let me just show you something here. I think I'll put this up side by side. This is fun. I am really having a lot of fun here. Okay, so it's called the AI Marketing Club. It's formerly the Startup Club, by the way. Okay, so it used to be called the Startup Club. We've now been, doing the Startup Club, but doing this format where I teach and show prompting and so forth. So now, as of today, it's called the AI Marketing Club, and it's live. We do live implementation workshops. It's me personally. I show up, and we work twice a month. Okay, and we dive in. And here's what we're going to do over the next year. This is probably too small to see unless you're on a computer screen. But for example, I'll zoom in here. In December 2025, we're going to do these two things. Next Tuesday, in our first workshop of December, we're going to design your premium price coaching package, and we're going to use AI. In the second workshop, which is going to be the third Tuesday, okay, so 2 weeks later, we're going to create your coaching offer and your presentation. But we're going to be using these power tools in order to do it. And by the way, you get all that for $1. Okay, really, I'm going to give you a full month in the program for $1. If you stay in, you're going to get 50% off. And in January, we're going to create a follow-up funnel to double your sales. And then we're going to design an upsell sequence that doubles your sales. These two things have doubled my business, right? Follow-up funnels, at least, right? And if you do them and you really implement, right, that's what we're going to do. In February, we're going to work on marketing. We're going to work on headlines that grab the attention of your ideal client. And you're not going to have to spend 10 years studying headlines like I did. We're going to make great headlines right there, right? And then we're going to do writing copy that gets your clients to take action and buy. So this is the map here. And over the next year, we're going to work on your avatar. We're going to create your lead magnet. We're going to work on headlines and copy. We're going to build your webinar and your sales letter. We're going to work on getting your clients to take action, making your video, sales scripts, nail your niche, accelerated learning and knowledge. We're going to work on all of these over the next 12 months. Again, the program, a month in this program to come to the next two is just $1. But if you stay in, you're really going to get a lot of value. Now, because it's Black Friday and Cyber Monday, I had to make this an absolute ridiculous no-brainer offer. I sound like I'm on an infomercial now, but I am very excited about this, okay? Because I wanted to make it so that you can't not do it. So if you register today and you give me $1, I'm also going to give you about $1,000 worth of bonuses for just the $1, okay? The first bonus I'm going to give you is my Turning Your Talent into Income program, all right? I very rarely offer this course as a bonus, but it's an awesome course, especially if you're a coach, teacher, thought leader. And what we do is we go through and we use two different personality systems, one of them that I created, to identify your unique genius. And then we go in and we look at all the industries that are going to be growing into the future, and we figure out how to connect your genius with the growing industries to help you really find your niche. Turning Your Talent into Income is normally $197. You're going to get it today when you give me $1 as a bonus. You're also going to get a great training that Annie created called Double Your Coaching Fees. And Annie, my wife, she's one of the highest paid relationship coaches in the world. And she's great at helping you to really nail your mindset and your offer and just get your self-esteem to the point where you're like, I need to charge more. Okay, so we're going to give you that one. You're also going to go through